Hey guys, I should be live. Hey, so happy Friday to all of you guys. Today we are Friday the 28th, fifth day of the challenge. So I'm hoping to see a lot of finishing pieces. Within the next couple of days at the very least, you'll have the entire weekend to finish your portrait if you haven't finished it. I saw so many great results already. I'm super excited to see the finalist as well. So yeah, just keep on pushing. You still have 2 more days. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat with me: Liana, Mew Perry, Leonela, Cedric, and Lola. Thank you so much for being live with me, guys. All right, today I'm going to finish the vampire. We're going to talk about a little bit of the anatomy. Well, not really the anatomy, but yeah, it's a little bit of anatomy of the face with a smile. But the teeth, I want to show you how I'm going to paint the teeth. I'm also going to show you how I managed to paint the bag of blood that I did today. So a few of those things. But before I do this, I want to remind everybody, guys, that if you want, I'm going to go back to my board here. I want to remind everybody that if you want to grab the best deal that we had in a long time with the DPA, you can grab the DPA for $297 until the Tuesday, November 1st. After that, it's going to be too late. I saw already a few people getting the deal. I want to say congrats to everybody that joined in. I'm looking forward to work with you starting on November 1st. We'll do some character design in November. I have great ideas on how to basically make sure that we prepare for the holidays and have some fun and learn at the same time. So if you want to join, perfect time, great deal. I'm going to do some great stuff about character design also next month. And if you don't know what's in there and you want to know, there's a VIP tour. All those links are in the description of this live. All the lives that I've been doing this week's are there. And with that being said, let's jump in with the creation. I'm just going to make sure that I close a few windows here so I see what I'm doing. And all right, so what I have here is the mood board and the painting. So the painting that we had yesterday, guys, was this one, right? So we had kind of a placeholder for the bag. I did something a little bit closer to realism today. I'll show you just a few layers that I did with this, but I didn't modify too many things. I maybe added, that was the first illustration. That's the new one. I added maybe an outline. I'll show you that in a second what I did. I'll talk about shape design in a second as well. The mood board is what I want to show you right now. So what I've been doing is I've been painting a hand, so I made sure to have a few reference pictures for the hand. I took a reference picture of my own hand. I do that often when I don't find the exact angle. In this case, the thumb here was basically what I was trying to get that thumb that kind of holds the bag right here. I took a picture of my own hand. I'm holding the tour box, which if you were participating to the pumpkin challenge before this one, these were the tour box that we were giving as prizes. 3 of you guys won them. It's an amazing tool. I'm looking forward to actually try it like correctly. I haven't had the time to like try it yet, but I'm very excited about it. So what I wanted to show you today, guys, I want to take the time to kind of push the teeth. Now, teeth is, there's a few traps when you paint teeth, when you're more or less experienced with this. So I want to show you the traps and I want to show you how to get out of the traps and just make something that looks better, right? If you have any question, as usual, I'm going to have a Q&A as soon as I finish the kind of little presentation here. So stay with me. But yeah, let's jump right in. So first of all, I'm going to show you what I did here. I have just a few lines that I add here. Let me just kind of put a layer here in white and put transparency on it, just so you see. So I did a few lines just to kind of make sure that the haircut was on the right. I'm going to add like a little jewelry here, and I want to talk about shape design before I show you the teeth. Now that like French it's a col, but in English it's a collar, I guess. The collar of the jacket here, I know that there's kind of a cool shape design here with those like 2 like spikes here. And one cool thing when you're doing concept art of all kind is to have repetition within your illustration, right? So repetition of all sorts will always kind of unify your design. So it's something to remember. And when I talk about repetition, I'm talking about repetition of shape design in the most part. Shape design can be also within objects, actual objects. But in this case, I have multiple different things. And I want to show you what they are. So the eyelashes, I'm going to make like a earring on the side of the ring. They both kind of mimic this shape. The idea is to have those kind of shape repeated a few places. Now, maybe I could find another place to add them, but for now, I got 3 of them. It kind of unifies it a little bit. So I wanted to talk about that before because it's a great thing that you can do. Even when your portrait is almost done, you can add those kind of things. Just think about what is one of those shape that you can add within your illustration and try to kind of unify it with it. All right, with that being said, let's take that layer and I want to talk about teeth. So let me just go over this layer maybe. I think that would be good. So the trap that most people, including me, did many times is when you do teeth, you're thinking about, I'll take a reference here that we have here. We're thinking about all those individual teeth, right? And we're kind of like, all right, so I have like a line here, and I'm going to have another line about here, maybe another line here. And my teeth are like a little bit all over the place here, but I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger so this one is not too big. And then another one here. And we're kind of boxing them into like squares. And then we're adding things. Now, in reality, if you're looking at the contrast or even this picture here, you see that the difference between this value and this value is actually not that big. We've been talking about value range within the few lives that we've been doing this week. And that's one thing that you need to observe when you're doing teeth. You're not supposed to do those lines. There's not actually lines in between. It's better to do less and to kind of insinuate that there's a separation with either very pale distinction within the lighting or just with the gums. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to take a new brush, new layer. I'm going to take that red here. I have the gums here for the fang. I think the placement of my teeth is not optimal right now, but I'm just going to go with it anyway. So I have like those 2 gums here. I would have the gums kind of in the middle here maybe to kind of indicate that we have, in fact, a separation here in the middle. I could even maybe have like the little gap here at the bottom here, just kind of that in the middle. But I'm going to try to not put too much here. I'm just going to make sure that as a shape itself, you want to think about this shape as like, let me just kind of create that kind of shape, kind of like this. More or less, I'm just going to maybe delete this part. Whoops, delete this part here. The teeth are kind of rolling, not rolling, but curving in front of you, right? If I start with something darker, you can imagine that light is going to hit in the middle here. And so it creates a natural shadow on both sides. That's the first thing you should do. So you want to very start from big to small kind of thing, or from, big to small. So I'm just going to kind of have like the light here that kind of bounce on the teeth here, and I'm going to try to get these more like slightly more dark value, but although not that dark, kind of on the side. And as I go on the side completely, then these values are getting darker and darker as we go. I'm just going to go and zoom out a little bit and kind of show before and after. So that's one thing to be able to do, just better teeth in general. Now, so if you're doing a vampire, I'm going to add the gums here. If you're doing a vampire, doing this is just going to help you to just kind of have a stylized way. Now, on those gums, I could add, if I want, eventually some little reflections and stuff like that. I won't go into details too much right now. Right now, I just want to have the base kind of lighting. And I'm not even like I'm under my lines, so there's some cleaning to be done here. But for now, I just want to show you the teeth at the bottom. It's the same kind of deal. You can just kind of like take a more pale value. You want to imagine that usually you can see like the example here on the side. The teeth that are under here, inside the mouth, they're actually there's a shadow casted on them. So usually the value is going to be just a lot darker, maybe not as dark as I have now. So that's what I'm going to do. Good morning, Jeffro. That's what I'm going to do to kind of do this. And then you can do the same kind of thing if you maybe see the gums, although I don't think I would see the gums from here. I think that's just too high. And then I'm going to make sure to have like a kind of an occlusion shadow probably in between those, maybe especially in the middle, kind of, yeah. So that's how I would approach teeth, basically. And I didn't do much here. See, just a little bit of that. And zooming out is going to help me also to understand this. Now, probably that I will have later on. I'm going to put a layer on top of it. And then there's like some cleaning to be done, right? Because the teeth are not perfect right here, but that's the idea. Also, teeth are some sort of like reflective, right? So you want to think about what's the colors all around them. If we have like some red here, maybe that's going to bounce a little bit on it. Although I think here what I'll do is just kind of add some reflections. I'm going to add the other gap here for this one, other gap here. Something like that. And then just a little bit of white. And frankly, I don't think I would have to go like over the board too much for these teeth. I think it's pretty much good as is. Maybe there's going to be a cast shadow on the lip here, just to kind of make a little bit more separation. But beside that, I think it's pretty fine. So that's fine. I won't polish them completely here, but hopefully this is good. I just want to check Christine. Christine says, I mean, only I knew this with the teeth and smiling mouth the last time I did the one with portrait. I really struggle with it, but seeing how you do it here makes it easier work. Yeah, well, you're absolutely welcome. And yeah, you know what? This is why this week, this time I wanted to kind of do some lives, giving you just a little bit more info about everything kind of thing. Also in like real pace. Now I think that if I'm looking at my teeth, they're completely wrong. Like that line, which is the middle of my teeth, I think should be kind of more like probably here. You know, it doesn't follow exactly that because this is kind of pushed in perspective, but it should be kind of probably here. So there's that, but let's pretend that it's perfect for now. The other thing I wanted to show you guys today is how I did this bag. So yesterday I did this bag, right, as a placeholder. I believe it was an idea from Jeffro. Thank you, Jeffro. Great idea. And so let me show you the different layers that I have here, because I got a few, I think. Maybe there's a bunch on top of each other. So there's the sticker. So there's just a bunch of like different details on the sticker. Let me zoom in so you guys see it. So you see it's not super detailed here. Just a few details for the sticker. And then the bag, I tried to follow this reference here, where you have kind of the blood here. One thing that's super important to kind of see is the different tone and tint of the red. It goes from dark red to a little bit more pale to almost like flashy red. And then you have like the transparency that goes through the blood and the background with the bag. And then you have those spots where you have a little fade in, fade out around this. So that's what I've been trying to kind of mimic. Let me know if I manage it enough. I put that placeholder here. There's probably some more reflection on the bag to be done. But it was not as complicated as I thought, especially with this reference. I think it was pretty cool to do. The design is not exactly the same, but I think it's doing a pretty good job. So yeah, pretty happy with this. The hand, once again, I just follow one of those. I think my hand was the one that I followed, but I followed those nails. Not much to say about this one either. So I'm going to kind of push this one a little bit more. If you guys have any question, wants me to do something particular, let me know. I think in this case, what I'll do is kind of push the hair. As we are Friday, let me know in the chat which of the 5 days, I'm assuming you haven't seen the Friday yet. So which is the 4 days between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday was the most difficult for you? Let me know in the chat. I know for most people, usually it's the rendering, which was, I believe, in Wednesday, because it just requires to kind of create a lot of details, and it's not always easy. So let me know in the chat which day was good for you. And while you do this, I'll try to add a little bit more of details in the hair. Now, I don't want to go overboard, but I would like to have some overlapping of some sort. Like we have some hair here that's kind of overlapping. That's interesting. Also, there's the ring that I'll do later. So Jeffro says 2 coloring. Lola says, non-technical question, will you post all modified portraits? Yeah, I'm planning on it. So there's already, if you follow me on Instagram, there's a couple of videos, I think already, a couple of reels that kind of shows the transformation, or maybe just one actually at the moment. But I posted, I believe, maybe just, I just did the witch yet. So yeah, the witch is there. I'll post this one when it's done, and I'll definitely post the demon, which we'll do over the weekend when it's ready for sure. So yeah, so just I'm trying to kind of do some separation here, having some different locks of hair. When you play with the reflections here, kind of pushing that small reflection that I did yesterday by just kind of having just darker tones and then more pale tones to kind of help. And just with that helps a lot already. Cedric says day 4 for you. So that was detailing, I believe, right? So that was today, or technically yesterday. Because I'm still in Thailand. So each time that I talk to you guys, I assume that it's either a day before or very early in the morning, which I'm assuming right now it's very early in the morning. So yeah, let's add just a few more. I don't want to go overboard with the reflection. I like the fact that it's just kind of relaxed. I'm definitely going to add some strings of hair in the forehead at some point, but I'm just not there yet, I think. I might just take the mixer brush tool and kind of play with the softness of those eyebrows. I'll be adding more details to them, but for now, just having just that kind of brushy feeling to it, it's going to help, I think. Softening up the things. I love the mixer brush tool. It's one of my favorite tools in Photoshop. I'm not using it like a brush, like it's supposed to be honest. I'm using it more like a blending tool where I blend my pixels together, but still does a great job. Thank you, Black Fox, for letting me know that the transformation it's to your taste. And Carl, you said definitely rendering, texture, and details. Yeah, I guess those are the big part. But let me know if you agree with me. I feel like when it comes to like the hardest skills to learn, still sketching to me is one of the hardest, especially when you're doing from imagination. Obviously, trying to kind of establish perspective on characters and environment. It's still to this day for me the thing that I definitely need more time to do, and I want to get better at. It's one of those skills that just requires it's less flashy, right? It's one of those skills that you need to do quite a bit if you want to be able to do it one day correctly. Let's do that earring here. It's going to have that shape. Just that for now. Doesn't have to be more fancy than this. You Perry, you say detailing part is the hardest. It's definitely hard. I'm not gonna say the opposite. It's definitely hard. I'm just thinking detailing. If you have a good base, then detailing it's a question of like finding the right reference. I think there's a lot of taking your time. It's kind of the relaxation part for me, where it's like, all right, you know what? I got a good base. I can just add, if you have a good base, obviously, right? So I'm hoping with the 1 week portrait challenge masterclass, everybody had a good base for this one. Kind of being able to, to push your limits. So just a few more details. I'm going to zoom out, check where I can go. At this point, the illustration is almost done. I guess it's pretty much the detailing that I'm doing right now, as in how much detailing do I want to put in. I'm going to try to, like, all the component needed to make the illustrations are here. I really just need to make it happen. And maybe use the mixer brush tool here to kind of mix the values a little bit. Like for the ear is definitely something that usually I would, not just usually, I'm probably going to get a reference later. Like I know enough to kind of guess enough of it that it looks like something, like where are the main shadows and stuff like that, but ears are very complex, and they're also like kind of a little bit like oily in terms of places. So you have like really like very intense specular highlights at some places, usually like in the middle, but I never know exactly where to place them. So probably having a reference later on is going to help me with this. But for now, this will do. This will do. For the cross right here, I think that having just a little bit of a cast shadow here around it, and I feel like that thing should have some reflections, which means that it should be kind of darkish at some places, because it's kind of dark, like on the sides. I probably should have started with like a darker metal and then add the white, but yeah, that's good for now. Now this tattoo I don't like anymore. I think I'll do something better later. All right, let's see what we got. I'm gonna copy that, make a copy, put them together. Just a few more details. When it comes to the eyelashes, or sorry, the eyebrows, I know that I show guys technique, but it's definitely, even to this day, something that even me have a hard time. So if you have a hard time with it, just don't give up. I think there's a lot of like taking your time. I usually go too fast doing the hair, and I'll go like, and it's gonna be just kind of too rough, and it needs to be both fluffy and also contrasty. You need to have contrast and fluffiness to it. There was one artist that I always been in awe of the way she does her eyebrows, and it's Loish. I think everybody knows Loish. She's one of the greatest out there, and she has a way to kind of mix the values and have just everything at the right place. I'm always in awe of her shape design and the way she does those little parts. I think also having not too much contrast, just a little bit. Like I'm trying to kind of keep the fluffiness, but still have some shape, some cool shape designs in it. That's why there's a lot of zoom in, zoom out for me. I think that's pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with this one. I want her to have like some dark and big and fluffy, but at the same time. That's interesting. So yeah, I'm trying to not get too hypnotized by my illustration. So yeah, if you guys have any question at this point, it would be the perfect time. You can put a capital Q in front of it. Obviously, I see sometimes people ask me questions that are like, "Oh, can you teach me about like, I don't know, landscape?" I'm like, "Well, I'm on a portrait right now. There's a ton of things in the DPA that you can learn from right now. But if you have a question about what I'm doing right now, so details, hair, um, doing teeth, just the general portrait stuff, I'll be more than happy. If you have other subject, then maybe for another live, or I'll suggest for you to join the academy once again. We have a crazy deal right now until the 1st of November. Lots of people jumped on it, so it's going to be a blast as soon as we start with kind of a new way to approach the academy starting on November, where I'm going to try to have a more like curriculum on a monthly basis, where people will definitely still be able to do um, the at your own pace. That's going to be still there, but I'm going to try to have just kind of suggestions of things that people can follow at the same time, because there's something to it, right? When an entire community is working all together on the same kind of exercises and projects, it really helps to see the other people just kind of doing their exercises. Or let me know what you think about that. But that's, at the very least, that's what I think. Going down the chat because it was blocked. Yeah, so if you have any question, guys, please put a capital Q in front of it so I don't have to read the conversation. Sometimes I don't know if you're asking a question or not. But yeah. Kathy says, how do you guys do it about noses? Noses are super, super hard. You know what? They're hard because it's about knowing each planes, and there's a lot of planes on a nose, right? There's those wings on the sides that have like a few planes. There's like that spot here. There's a plane. There's like that spot here's a plane, and you have the ball of the nose that form a plane. Then you have like a transition plane here. You have the bridge of the nose. All of those things will catch the light in a certain way. And knowing them all also, it's a trap, because sometimes you know them all and then you're going to start over rendering, over blending, and it's going to look very, it's like you need to have the balance between knowing it all and then choosing what do you want to enhance and what do you want to kind of let go. So yeah, let's push this a little bit more. I'll try to, we're talking about the shape design. I'll try to kind of see if I can incorporate maybe some of the shape design here with that hair here. We have the eyebrows, we have the pointy things here, we have the earring. Maybe I'm able to kind of push this. And I think it's always just a good thing to kind of think about those things and think about like, all right, so how can I create some harmony within the illustration by making certain shape design just a little bit more clear. So maybe that is kind of okay. Let's see. Just a little bit more. And I'm just going to brush it a little bit, soften it up. That's interesting. Let's flip it. Yeah, adding detail. There's also like a very, like this illustration came with a very impactful like highlights, which I would like to do probably with a texture brush. Something of a texture brush. I don't know if I have the exact texture brush that I could need here. Maybe that could be interesting. No, it's too much. Maybe this one. Maybe that. Where I could just make sure that I have those highlights, especially here. I'm assuming I'm going to have some very bright specular highlight, because this is kind of plastic, and plastic is shiny. So adding some of those highlights will help to kind of tell that it's plastic. And when you add highlights, super important to kind of follow the same patterns. So if you have like edges of anything in 3D, you want to think about, all right, so which planes will get the light, which planes will get the shadow, and try to follow this. I might just take a hard edge brush for this. And as I'm seeing this, I'm seeing a question from Lola. It says, will the challenge for DPA have a separate channel on Discord? There's already a separate channel for anything that's DPA in the Discord, but it's the channel. It's the challenges themselves will still be both DPA and Tribe. It's more like the exercises, and obviously the video classes that will be exclusive to the DPA members, which for those, they'll be simply in the DPA kind of thing. But I like the challenges to be for everybody. I mean, everybody can always participate to challenges. It's just a question of if you want more help with the challenge, then you can get it in the DPA. We have the Q&As, we have the learning path that follow a precise path from simple to hard, really. And so that's the idea behind the DPA. I'm also working slowly on creating a survey to help everybody. I mean, when I started, to be close to be a professional artist, I was actually wondering if, like, where my skill level was. So I'm working on making a survey to help people to kind of ask that question. So it's going to be a survey that anybody can take, and it's going to basically, once you finish the survey, I'll be able to tell you more or less, obviously it's not scientific or anything, but more or less if you are a beginner, an advanced, or more. And based on that, I'll have classes that you can take both outside of the DPA and in the DPA to help you kind of reach the next level. So in the DPA, we have 6 levels. It goes newbie. Newbie is when you haven't done anything yet. You're still learning your software and stuff. We have beginner, where you learn the foundation skills needed to do your kind of like more illustrations, but still like very beginner. Then you have advanced, where you start slowly to kind of have more fun with your skills. Then you have skilled. When you're a skilled artist, you actually can paint from imagination. Then you have, I believe it's seasoned. Seasoned is when you have a few illustrations that you already sold. And then we have professional, which I guess speaks for himself. Obviously, all of these are not absolutes. You might have a little bit of skilled and a little bit of advanced, or you might be a beginner, but you have some stuff of advanced and so on. But the idea is just to help you, guide you, because one thing that I see helping a lot of my students is having a clear destination, a clear goal to reach. And once you have that, then it's a question of building the right path for you, which is what I'm trying to build in the DPA all the time. So anyhow, I'm talking, and then I'm adding like tiny details that always happen because I cannot do 2 things at the same time. So let me just see if there was a question in the chat. Sorry, guys. I feel like I forgot about you. I see conversations here. All right. I don't see any question, I believe. So yeah, you guys let me know if you have any questions. I see conversations in there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the vampire so far. I think, all things considered, she looks cute and at the same time very deadly, which is pretty awesome. I'm just thinking, what can I show you guys that will have the biggest impact in the least amount of time? Because I've been trying to keep those sessions at 1 hour top. So it comes with some Q&A, some tips, and all of that in a more or less compact package. Otherwise, it's hours and hours of me talking. So that's pretty good. So Goon, you say, any tips about layers? Let me know what you would like to know. Do you want tips like tips for? Just let me know what you want. Like, is it like about workflow? You want tips about workflow, like how I keep my layers stack tidy, or do you want tips like how to render correctly with layers? I guess I could just pick one and tell you. So my so yeah, Christine says about the folders. So that's one thing. So when you're working in Photoshop, there is those folders. I'll show you that in a second. When you're working in Photoshop, you have those folders that you can put a bunch of layers in. So I like to do this. Right now, I consider like I have four kind of layers. I have 3 layers, but I have that folder that represents all the stuff. I didn't merge them yet because I wanted to show you guys what's in it. Also, sometimes I want to keep certain selections. So I keep a layer, let's say, of the hair because I'm able to render it with more ease. So that's good practice. But once you have too many layers, it becomes too heavy, too complicated, especially if you have different software. Photoshop handles a lot of layers pretty easily if you have enough like RAM memory on your computer. But if you go sometimes on Procreate and you have a big file, Procreate will only give you access to like a limited amount of layers, which force you to be very creative in the way you use your layer. So my philosophy is always to keep them tidy. I like to merge myself. Like right now, I'm working on 1 layer only, but I keep a few layers at the back to always see my progression and see where I'm going. It helps me to understand, all right, was that change a good change or a bad change, basically. I'm going to say any tip will help. Hopefully these tips will help. So that's my philosophy when it comes to layer. When I do things like with a selection, let's say I have like a selection of the face like this. I'm just going to very bad selection. I like to create, I just click on the folder here and make a mask, and then you can put layers within that folder, which obviously will stay in bounds. That's something I do a lot. If you are in the DPA, I have an entire module in the infancy of the learning path called Making Your First Mark. I go through, I don't want to talk out of my ass, but I have like at least like a dozen of tips about layers, about techniques on how to manage your tools, all of those things. And usually people that start the DPA and know Photoshop pretty well, they come back at me and tell me that they learn a ton of stuff. Because for me, learning those kind of little tricks about layers is what makes digital painting really, really, really fun. So I'll say that. Sorry, reading the chat. Lola says, I put layers in folders. I used to have a layer for clothes, a layer for hair behind, a layer in front. And now I have folders for each. Yeah, it's a great way to do it as well. But my philosophy is also just if you have too many layers, then it becomes kind of too much. I like to merge them down. Obviously, if you're making like a huge painting with like buildings and perspective and multiple characters, maybe having a few layers, a few like different folders will help to just make like order to it and come back at it and make changes with the client, especially with the clients actually. But when I do a portrait like this one, I don't think it's necessary to keep too many of them. That's me. That's me. Let's see if we can make that a little shinier. Maybe just around here. And then that might just get just a little darker. And then we might have highlight there, something like that. Could be interesting. Something like that. That's interesting. All right. I think that's looking pretty fine so far. So I'm hoping I'm able to show you guys how you can have fun with your illustrations and your portrait, even when you finish them, you know. Sometimes you have an illustration that you did a great job on. You can definitely use it to just start a new one. You know, you're the master of your universe when it comes to your art. Why not recycling your art to create new pieces? Absolutely. The one thing I wouldn't do is obviously using the art of someone else. That's a no-no. But if it's your own art, why not? Not sure about the eyebrows, but I might have some more fun later with it. I think maybe just keep them fluffy a little bit more. But the shapes itself might just be... That's usually what happens with the eyebrows. I start painting on them and then I just repaint on it and repaint on it, and I'm never satisfied. All right. What do you guys think about the red in the eye? I tried it yesterday. I wasn't sure. Still not sure. Feel like there's something to it, but at the same time, it's kind of disturbing. We'll have to see. Maybe a tiny bit more details. I think that'll be all for today. Was there one trick, guys? Let me know in the chat. Was there one trick that you learned in the masterclass that for you was an aha moment? Anything, no matter if it was about coloring or about detailing. I know a lot of people, when they go through the color phase, the L recipe, where you kind of make it an L within your color picker, is a revelation to lots. And even to this day, even though I have a better knowledge of color theory, I still use the L recipe. It's something that works on so many levels. It's really a cool trick. Just adding a little bit more reflections. That's interesting. So Mew Perry says, making hard colors before rendering. Yes, that's shape design, really. I think it's a common mistake that we all did at least once, where we start to kind of overblend, over-render, and we lose the essence of our shapes. And when you do this, the best way to kind of gain it back is going back to hard shapes. I'm trying to... maybe a few more details. Jeffrey says, look really good. Love how that juice bag turns out. You know what? I was looking at like lots of references, and these juices bags, you can actually buy them and have like drinks in them. I don't know if you can mix them and have them, but I could imagine like really cool Bloody Mary being in one of those drinks. Lola says, for me, definitely was hair part when I participated in the first time. Yeah, hair can be very complicated. I think I used to put kind of a lot of details in my hair, and I think as I'm progressing as an artist, I put less and less. I like to keep things in shapes a little bit more. Which I think helps me at the end of the day. Just adding just a few details in the hair like this. Just a few different things, using the mixer brush tool to create some fluffiness at some places and whatnot. But yeah, I think probably I'll stop that here today. I'm a lot more of a person that does morning stuff, but I wanted to push it a little bit more, you guys, before I end up to go to bed, just so you have a few more examples. And I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll start the, tomorrow we are Saturday, and I'll start the demon. I have a pretty cool idea. I want to have some horns that goes back the head of the illustration that I chose. I'll change the skin color to red, see what I can do with this. We'll talk about perspective, because those horns will turn within perspective. I'll show you how to build a decent perspective that looks complicated, yes, but that is pretty easy to do. So that's my goal for tomorrow. Carl says, this time I was not afraid to just make a lot of blocky colors, and it allowed me to think about color choices rather than get stuck into rendering immediately. That's absolutely true. Jeffrey comes with the questions. What's the time do you spend planning your illustration? Like, how much time do you spend picking reference and sketches? It all depends. Sometimes I have a very clear vision, so I go straight to take a few references, and usually the first references that I found are the one that I keep. But sometimes it requires just a little bit more work. I think the mistake that we all do at the beginning is we think as ideas had been something that come out of nowhere. But generating ideas, it's like a skill that you need to practice to get better at. And so for this, there's tricks such as do some brainstorming and do some quick thumbnail sketching, and never choose the first concept and try to just push your ideas. And then as you do more of this, you'll just get better at it. But all that to say that, yeah, it varies a lot. It depends on the complexity of the illustration and all of that. I know that one thing that I love is to work with client briefs, no matter if it's a real client brief or just on my own, because it kind of narrowed down where I'm going. So it's also a question of like being decisive. I think as artists, we like so many things sometimes that we want to do everything and we end up doing nothing. I don't know if that rings a bell to some of you guys. But that's the reason why, for example, in Illustration for Imagination, I wanted to make sure that we start with a professional brief so you can just focus on making the best idea that you have based on the brief without having to like overthink the concept all the time. So that's one of the things I like to do. Kathy says the L recipe helped a lot. Yeah, I agree. It's a cool trick. Lola says the worst you can do and used to do is start painting hair in a messy way and adding some details already and then realizing, yeah, absolutely, totally did that a million times. I guess maybe I'm doing the opposite so much more now that sometimes I have to remind myself that I need to add more details, like what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of playing with just like slight different changes in the values, but I think better that than adding too much detail too early. Christine says, the sketching. I have always had hard time sketching, but this time with the work on day one, I came to see that I wasn't that bad at it and give me a motivation. Oh, that's great. That's great, Christine. I don't know if you are in the DPA, but if you're in the DPA, also, I just finished about a month ago the advanced sketching. And the cool thing is the skills that you learn in the masterclass, um, they will I will build upon them in that advanced one, and we talk about how to add perspective to your sketches and how to kind of use perspective to create from imagination sketches, which I was talking about earlier. Just one of those skills that just needs a lot of practice. But anyway, New Perry says, all these points changed my drawing world. Yes, I progressed so much since I did one portrait for the first time last year. It is a life changer. I'm super happy to hear about it. That's great. All right, you guys. All right, let me go back to the camera here. Hey guys, so I'm gonna finish it here today because it's been about an hour, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm usually going to bed pretty early, and it's been really long week. So I'm gonna keep my energy for tomorrow as we start our first day of the weekend, and I want to be there for you guys to make a new illustration. This time, the demon, we'll do the horns, we'll talk about 3D, we're going to push even more. If you are finishing your one-week portrait challenge with me during the weekend, you have the entire weekend. You also have until the 31st, which is the Monday, so you can push it during the Monday, because there was no way I was not finishing on Halloween day for sure. So there's all of that happening. And a reminder that if you don't want to miss the deal that we have, which is going away really soon, be sure to click on it. It's almost 70% off of the Digital Painting Academy, the one-week portrait masterclass that you'll get lifetime access to it, not just a week, lifetime access in the Perfect Portrait Foundation as well. Those three things for only $297, which is, like I was saying, almost 70% off, but also it's $100 off of the regular price of the Academy. So really, if it was just the Academy, it would be already a good deal. And I want to say hi to everybody that is already in the DPA, and I saw a few people passing new to the DPA today. I tried to send you guys a few videos. I usually do that with people that join in. I like to just send you like a quick video welcome. So big welcome again to everybody that joined in today and will join for the rest of the week. So I'm repeating myself. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Happy painting and enjoy the process, guys. Ciao.